So even before I began to speak, many, if not all of you, had already formed an opinion of me and what I'm about to say. You may be sizing me up, noting my age, my accent, how I'm dressed. And those of you familiar with the military might even be noting my rank or lack thereof, or counting the number of ribbons on my chest. And now that I've said a few words, many of you are asking yourselves, subliminally, is he right? Do I agree? And see, the opinion you've already formed of me by this point will likely be carried through my entire talk today and shape what you actually take in of my speech and the conclusions that you draw from it. I recently learned that this filter through which we experience our world has a name. Some call it already always listening. And they call it so because this filter is always present and exists even before we begin to listen, distorting and limiting what we can actually take in of the world that we live in and the people that we live with. Sometimes the only thing that comes between us and our ability to change the world is ourselves and our own prejudices, preconceptions, and already always listenings. A wise man once said that it is a pity for a man to die too well known to others, yet too little known to himself. I put it to you that if we can get to know ourselves and learn to put our prejudices and preconceptions aside, we will gain greater access to truly, authentically listening to our fellow human beings and be well on our way towards understanding each other and changing the world. Language, whether we're speaking to ourselves or with others, and the way we see the world have an interesting relationship. On the one hand, how we see the world, how it occurs for us, is captured in our language. While on the other hand, our day-to-day language begins to affect how the world occurs for us. In their book entitled The 3 Laws of Performance, Steve Zaffron and Dave Logan argue that in order for us to change the way we interact with our world, and thus change the world, we must alter our day-to-day language. The Africa Redefined movement, which I co-founded, seeks to economically, socially, and politically transform Africa in one generation. We use language differently at Africa Redefined. We use it in a way that alters the fundamental mindset towards people living in a state of poverty, a way that allows us to break the mental and psychological barriers between the haves and the have-nots, and thus break the cycle of poverty. Rather than call people poor, a term that labels them as powerless and weak, at Africa Redefined, we refer to them as people living on the front lines of the war on poverty, a term that identifies them as the powerful agents of change that they are, rather than dismissing them as mere victims of fate. An African proverb says that if you want a man to feed his family, give him a spear. But if you want him to feed his village, call him hunter. Sometimes all it takes to empower someone and activate them as an agent of change is to call them hunter. The people living on the front lines of the war on poverty all have names, and they all have stories. Their future is in our hands. Let's put it in theirs. Now, some of you may be wondering at the audacity of Africa Redefined's mission to transform Africa in one generation. Or you may have doubts about taking the risks necessary to follow through with your own commitments or passions or causes. James Cameron, one of the great movie directors of our time, said that no important endeavor which required innovation was done without risk. In whatever we are doing, failure is always an option, but fear is not. And so here's my challenge to you and to my generation. Let blatant audacity be our hallmark. Let us dream beyond our capacity to imagine. Let us set unobtainable goals and hold ourselves up to unattainable standards. Let us commit to an impossible task. And then, Let's go out there and fail until we lose the fear of failure. Let's be naive. After all, we're still too young to realize that certain things are impossible. And so let's do them anyway. Years from now, when we look back at our youth, let's wonder at how greatly we dared, how naive we were in our sincerity and in our yearning to make a difference. Let's be amazed by the great odds we took on, by the great feats we accomplished. And if our fate is such, let's at least look back at how bravely we fell and how foolishly we went back out in search of another dose of failure. How futile it was, yet how fulfilling. May our story be one of triumph or of failure, but not anything in between. Either way, may it be one worth telling. In the annals of history, whether we fail or not, may we be counted among those souls that poured immeasurable portions of themselves towards a worthy cause. May we not be counted among the ranks of meager men who wish they had risked more. Should we be unsuccessful in our endeavor, let us regret that we failed miserably. But not that we didn't try hard enough, or weren't audacious enough, blatant enough. Let us dare. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.